We're halfway done day one of a 3-day winter camping trip in the remote Canadian Rockies here. Normally you'd see me out on a trip like this alone, but for this trip, I'm out with Kane. It was a trip I did not want to do alone just due to the hazards and the conditions that we're going to be going out in. It's not an easy trip and we're getting deep into the backcountry, and in that kind of scenario, you want to be with somebody else. This is the first multi-day winter trip that I've done in a while, so I'm a little bit nervous. We are going very deep into the wilderness here in the Canadian Rockies with only the gear that's on our back. We're traveling fast and light because we're going to be heading pretty deep, traveling a far distance, and we don't want big heavy packs, or you see a lot of people with sleds and pulks that they're carrying with a ton of gear. We don't have that. So we only have about 30 pounds of gear on our back, and we're going to be surviving out there with only that. Today we're heading up an established trail. There's a lodge up here that people head to, but tomorrow's a different story. We're going to be going even further, and at that point we're probably going to have to break trail through some pretty deep snow. It's going to be a tough, tiring time. Made it up to the first pass, came up this valley here, 9 kilometers in, so we're getting further and further away from civilization. We're going to take a little break here before crossing this lake and then working our way to another lake on the other side there where we're going to be camping for the night. The plan for the next couple days is to do a loop that goes around this mountain as well as another mountain, and then come back over this pass here to head back to our car on the third day. Most people, they go across the lake over the pass to the lodge that's on the other side. We're gonna be blazing our own trail and heading around a different loop, getting pretty remote back there. This is where our route deviates from the main route that goes up that pass, but hopefully we'll be coming over that pass in the opposite direction in a few days' time here if everything goes as planned. I'm gonna go head over to that hump there and see if I can see my campsite. Hopefully it's in the sun. It is beautiful out. I really should have brought my sun chair and bathing suit. This is pretty crazy. We're gonna be dropping down to this lake right here, going across it, and then our camp site should be somewhere at the end there. We're on the lee side of a slope right now, and we're sinking in pretty deep. If tomorrow is like this for breaking trail, it's gonna be a long, tough day. So we got some open water right here. There's a drainage that comes down and then goes into the lake right there. And then there's another drainage emptying on the other side. So we're gonna have to make a call on whether to start crossing the lake right here. Our campsite's right over there, or go around a little bit and avoid some potentially thin ice at this end of the lake. We're gonna kind of split the difference between the two creeks. Start heading out. Kane just kind of testing things out, and then if all is good, then we'll just kind of stick to the middle where it's likely most frozen. How'd you like that, Kane?
I didn't like it. The snow was collapsing and wumping underneath me.
Yeah.
And made me feel like I was going to pop through the ice at any second. Not fun.
Crossing lakes in wintertime is always a bit of a gamble, but the nice thing about being on skis, I think the math is like you only need 1 centimeter thickness of ice in order to not fall through. So we've had a lot of -40 days so far this winter, so there's definitely some ice on there, at least 1 centimeter. So there's a very low chance of us falling through, but if you did fall through, that's a bad day. One of us is probably coming to shore, calling in a helicopter rescue team. It would be a disaster. Made it. This is the outhouse. Gonna be pooping in luxury tomorrow. Nice.
Whoa. the frostiest, weirdest toilet I've ever seen, man.
Yeah? Oh yeah.
It's weird.
And somehow, even though it's in the negatives for the last like 2 months, it still smells. We got the tent set up, just letting all the stakes harden a little bit in the snow before really tightening everything up. Nice little sitting area. What are you thinking for tomorrow, Kane?
I think it's gonna be a slog.
Then we're getting into a bit of a safety issue because we're out here in some of the shortest days of the year, beginning of January. So we have 8 hours in the day. So if we're traveling at a 1 kilometer an hour, tomorrow we have 10 kilometers to go, we wouldn't be making it to camp before it got dark. And once it starts getting dark, things start getting sketchy. So we're in the middle of the mountains here, so we have lakes to deal with as well as mountains with avalanche paths coming off of them. We don't want to be traveling at night, potentially underneath a hazard or on a hazard. The sun's starting to go down behind the mountains over there, so it's gonna start getting dark pretty quickly here. We're just gonna be chilling. And I don't know if you guys realize there's only one tent and 2 guys. I think it's been a while since Kane or myself have shared a tent with somebody. Mostly doing solo trips, but should get cozy in there. I didn't bring lentils, so that's nice for Kane. Melting snow is a major aspect of winter camping, especially when you're doing multi-day trips and you're pushing miles like we're trying to do. You're sweating, you're needing a lot of water, and you have to create all of that water from the snow around you. And it uses up about 2 times or more fuel than just boiling water in its liquid state. Because we're not sure how fast we're gonna be able to go tomorrow, stopping to melt snow is something that's a little bit questionable. We don't want to be spending a lot of time doing that, but we also don't want to get dehydrated because that's going to make us move slow as well. US, they're pretty small.
Good. There's a company called Hoffman Outdoors.
Okay. So one of 2 things I forgot, I'll get into what the second one was in a second here, were vapor barrier liners for my feet. So my feet sweat a lot when I'm skiing, and for that reason, the liners in my boots are frozen solid this morning. My attempt at fixing that is to put my water bottles full of hot water inside of them, hopefully soften them up, and then allow me to get my foot inside of them in a little bit here. So the second thing that I forgot was toilet paper, Luckily, I brought a wag bag with me just in case I needed it, and I pilfered the toilet paper and wet wipe from there. So I'm gonna be probably using 1 square at a time for today and then trying to ration it so I have enough for tomorrow. 2 key things that I forgot on this trip, but luckily I'm gonna be able to make it work. The hot water bottles inside the boot worked like a charm. My boots are nice and toasty warm right now, and my feet were able to slide right in. I'm gonna go get some work done. We'll see you guys in a bit and we'll hit the trail. The sun's just coming up here, 8:15 a.m. We're getting all packed up, getting ready to make some moves. Because there's well over a meter of snow on the ground, we're gonna be sinking in a little bit, having to break trail. We're not sure how much that's gonna be, if there's gonna be some wind slabs that we're gonna be able to ride on and move a little bit quicker. But today's gonna be a big question mark as far as how fast we can move and how far we can make it. We have some contingencies in case we're moving very slowly, but we don't really want to tap into those because that's gonna make today and tomorrow even tougher. So as we come down the trail here, we're going deep and the trail breaking isn't the easiest, but we're hoping that we're gonna get down into this valley down here. And then once we're there, hopefully the wind and sun has affected the snow a little bit and created a nice crust for us to float on. We're down in the valley bottom here, hit a little bit of a crust, so we're moving quickly, which is a good sign for the rest of the day. We'll see. So we hit the spot here where a trail comes from the lodge through that pass right there, but everyone's just stopping there, taking a look around and not continuing around the loop that we're gonna be doing. So we are gonna be continuing on fresh trail, breaking trail, and it's going to be a little bit tougher kind of in this more sheltered area where the wind hasn't created a crust.
In about a kilometer, we might hit a junction where people would do a loop from Skokie Lodge and go around Skokie Mountain. I'm kind of optimistic that we still might run into something.
Nice.
Because this is slow going.
The trail breaking through here is pretty tough. We're sinking in about a foot. You can see back there. And that wears you out really quickly and you just can't move fast. So fingers crossed we hit that trail up there, because another kilometer of this, not too bad. Another 6 kilometers of this will kick our butts.
But it's not like you're gonna punch through to.
In addition to the trail breaking being tough, the navigation isn't the easiest as well. We're going through the forest with no trail to follow, so it's about trying to find where the gap is in the trees in order to see where the trail is, as well as I'm using my Garmin Enduro 2 watch to navigate. I have the map and route loaded up on here, so that kind of helps hit some of the corners and the turns. So we just hit a trail right here with fresh tracks on. So people have been down here already today. We're hoping this trail continues all the way around to our campsite. Good chance it does. So we're gonna be able to cruise pretty fast. And then once we get to the campsite, we'll share with you all the gear that we're bringing with us in order to be fast and light on this trail, but also safe while being in the remote Canadian Rockies. How are you liking the trail so far today, Kane?
I think we were counting on some type 2 fun, maybe type 3. It's turned more into type 1, which is almost disappointing. This is just too nice.
I feel like we're both suckers for punishment a little bit.
A little bit, yeah. And it's like, I don't know what to do with like just such a nice, like you could almost be in a t-shirt.
We got camp set up. We got a beautiful spot here in this valley, panoramic views, but it's definitely colder than yesterday. It's only 3:30 right now, but we're already starting to feel the chill, which we didn't get yesterday until basically when we went to bed. Based on the forecast, temperatures tonight were supposed to be the lowest between the 2 nights that we were out here. Last night it got down to -20, even though the forecast was for a little bit warmer, so it might get down below the forecast of -22, -23 tonight, which is going to be cold. Even though we have a beautiful campsite, we're in a low area and all the cold air is just settling in here, and it's going to really cool us off. But I think I'm pretty good. I have a really warm sleep system, which I'll show you in a second here. First sleeping pad, I'm using the new Thermarest Xtherm NXT. It has an RBI of 7.3. The Xtherms are pretty much the undisputed best winter sleeping pads out there. Kane's also using an Xtherm, and we were talking this morning about how mind-blowing it is, how warm they keep you even when it's freezing temperatures and you're sleeping on top of snow. For my sleeping bag, I'm using my tried and true Thermarest Polar Ranger. I love this thing. It's very warm. One of my favorite features is this synthetic snorkel that you have here. So it creates a little pocket of warm air around you, as well as funnels moisture away from your sleep system a little bit. And then in order to also manage moisture, I have a synthetic quilt here that I put over top of the sleeping bag. So this just moves the dew point from within the down of the sleeping bag into the synthetic material of the top quilt, and the synthetic material is going to manage that moisture a lot better. I also bring a pillow, the Tricology 2.0. I like to be comfortable when I'm out here, and a pillow helps me get a good night's sleep. This is the Hyperlight Mountain Gear Ultimate 4. It's an insanely light tent at just over 600 grams. So for us to share this really lightens the load while we're out here, which is what we wanted. A lot of our packing decision making was in order to pack as light as possible so that when we were breaking trail and moving through these valleys, we were able to move quickly. Even though this is a 4-person tent, in order for it to be comfortable, really it's a 2-person tent. If you put any more than 2 people in here, it's gonna start feeling really cramped real quick. Some of the gear we brought with us is more in line with safety gear and redundancy. We both brought cook systems in order to melt snow and boil water. Just in case one failed, we'd still have the ability to make water. If you look at the gear that we have out as well, we have a lot of buffer built into our systems. Even though the forecast was for -20, we'd probably be fine well below that, which is something that you want. You don't want to be caught days away from the closest civilization and not be able to survive if the temperature swings on you. We also brought a repair kit. Because we're using alpine touring skis, there's a lot of moving parts there, and if it failed, we'd be stuck and having to get rescued out. So this allows us to make minor repairs when out in the field. The repair kit consists of some zip ties and then some wiring as well. This wire is super useful if you need to repair anything. And then in order to cut the wire, as well as basically do any other sort of repairs that you might need, I have this Leatherman Skeletool. What's good about this one is not only does it have all the tools on there, but it has a bit on it that's sturdy enough to adjust ski bindings, and that's something that I've actually had to do. I went out with somebody, their ski binding didn't have the din set properly, so we needed to tighten it up because their ski kept popping off, which really messes up a trip. I also have some duct tape in here. We're both using the same cook system, the MSR Whisperlight. I'm using mine with a canister. Kane's using his with white gas. And then we each have a large capacity pot. You need a big pot in order to melt snow because you're going to be putting a lot of snow in there in order to melt water. This is a 2-liter pot, and then Kane has a 2-liter pot as well. Some of you out there might be a little bit confused about the setup that we use in order to ski. Most people are familiar with snowshoes. Some of you might be familiar with the ski shoes that I use from Decathlon as well as Black Diamond. But these skis and the boots are specifically meant for going uphill as well as going downhill. And because of that, they have some very specific features on them as well as very specific binding. So with the boots, you have this latch on the back and you put the latch down and then it locks it in and then you can ski downhill. And then when you lift the latch up, it allows the boot to flex backwards more so that you can kind of push your ski forward and get a good glide. The boot also has 2 pin slots on the front here, right in the toe, and that's crucial in how the boot interfaces with the binding. So you have this front of the binding piece here that has 2 pins on it. You line up these holes on the boots, press down, and then the pins lock onto the boot. And when you're going on flat terrain or you're touring, you can get a pivot on that toe and it allows you to operate the ski kind of like a cross-country ski boot. And then when you want to go downhill, you turn the heel binding piece here, and then you have 2 pins on the heel and then slots on the heel of the boot to lock down and then allow you to ski just like if you were at the resort. It's a much lighter setup. You don't have as much suspension in the ski and the binding, but it's a really cool system that allows you to go on flats, uphill, and then downhill. Because we're using nice wide and long skis, we're able to float on top of the snow a lot better than a cross-country ski, and we have a lot more surface area than something like a snowshoe. In order to get grip when going uphill, we have something on the ski called a skin. So this has little hairs that go in one direction so you can glide forward very easily, but then it doesn't allow you to slip because it causes some grip onto the snow. This skin just attaches at the front of the ski here and then on the tail with a clip here. And then when you want to go downhill, you just remove the entire skin, store it in your pack, and you're able to ski no problem. We're just getting dinner going. Frozen life. You can see it's cold because you can see our breath. And that's the prime indicator of outdoor temperature.
Of cold weather. You can also see that I have ice on my face.
Yeah.
So it's colder here than there.
It's not fake ice either. This is a real cold environment. Getting dinner going. I have lasagna with meat sauce from Mountain House. Not super excited for this. What do you got, Kane?
Sweet pork and rice. Nice. From Peak Refuel. One of my favorites.
We have some nice alpenglow back there. Beautiful views. We're gonna eat dinner, try and stay warm, hunker down, and I'll let you guys know tomorrow whether we survive or not. It should be an interesting day with some beautiful views and then the ski out. Okay, quick update before we get into bed because it's before 6 o'clock, but it's minus 20 degrees Celsius, a little bit colder actually, minus 22 degrees Celsius, which indicates that it's probably going to be a very cold night, might even hit minus 30 or below. And the morning probably won't be that much fun either because generally the mornings are one of the coldest parts of the day. Last night got pretty cold. It was night 2 of a multi-day trip, and on night 2 you're going to have moisture accumulation from earlier in the trip, and that's going to decrease the effectiveness of your sleep system. I also think the area where we set up camp just collects cold air and moisture a little bit more than if we were up on a little bit of a higher area. You can see the frost that accumulated on the tent here.
Hello.
Kane's just waking up. Good morning. How'd you sleep, Kane?
Pretty good, actually.
Nice.
I was a bit cold at first, but I warmed up. I got pretty warm all night.
Yeah. I think we were in bed for, what, 13, 14 hours and probably slept for the good majority of that.
Yeah.
We're hoping to follow an established trail as we kind of ski out towards the lodge and then up over Deception Pass, which we saw on day 1. There should be some really good views, but this snow and cloud cover might make things interesting. Warm boots. Multi-day winter camping in the remote backcountry is a different beast than overnighters or setting up a base camp and staying put for a few days. As you push further and further into the backcountry, you're getting further away from civilization and help, so you really have to be able to rely on yourself as well as anybody that you're with and have your gear dialed in. We got pretty lucky in that there's a trail to follow most of the way, which really saved our energy, and we were able to get to camp nice and early, and the temperature didn't get too low. Last night we were a little bit worried, but luckily it stayed just warm enough that we were nice and cozy in our sleep systems. That was an awesome trip. Really glad I was able to do this with Kane. We're just heading up over this last hump. We're gonna get pummeled by wind, which is why I'm recording right here, and then it's just a nice easy slope back to the car. Go check out Kane's channel, Kane Outdoors, right up in the corner there. He puts out a ton of awesome content, really experienced guy, lots of good information, and a lot of winter fun.